could be a Democratic candidate or possibly a third-party candidate, Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, who some wealthy donors are hoping will consider a third-party presidential bid to do. I expected this maybe from Republicans. This is coming from Democrats and left-leaning media outlets. What do you make of that just 17 months after this guy got 81 million votes? Apparently.
I mean, what I make of it is this is completely crazy that the own party that Joe Biden has been a part of for almost 50 years in the swamp is turning on him. And by the way, the idea of Joe Manchin is probably the smartest pick because he does have a lot of crossover appeal. West Virginia, let's face it, is a pretty red state, but he would have a bit of crossover appeal because he has left that Joe Biden sort of contingency and voted against the Democrats and voted with the Republicans. But honestly, I think that Joe Biden and people working under him and with him and for him, wherever's really controlling him, should really be paying close attention here because the American people are turning on him. Let's face it, the poll numbers are terrible. And now the Washington swamp is turning on him. Get your popcorn out because it's going to be a very interesting couple of months, weeks, and years.
Yeah,
agreed.
Chris, as Erin mentioned, before 6 months ago, you just saw conservative media talk about him. Now you're seeing CNN, you're seeing MSNBC, and now you're seeing Democrats, pretty much turn on him. However, though, Kamala Harris a couple of days ago said that he would run and she would be his VP.
The problem with that, and Erin, I'm curious what you think about this, is that, Chris, I agree with you, but you know who doesn't agree with you? Joe Biden. He says he's running again, and I get the lame duck factor. He can't come out and say that I'm not running again. Then he's a lame duck for the next 2.5 years. Maybe it happens after the midterms, but I think he legitimately thinks he's running again at the age of 82 in 2024. My other problem with this, Erin, is it's the same old names. They don't want Bernie Sanders. They're not going to let that happen for a third time. But they're trotting out fine. AOC would be 35 years old on election day, so she theoretically could run for office. Obviously, I think it's too early for AOC. I think she'll run at some point. Yeah. But Elizabeth Warren and Hillary Clinton, they're going to try it again with Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, that didn't go over so great in 2016. Now did it? But of course, the Democrat Party, their bench is really weak. And at least on the Republican side, I feel that there are so many opportunities and so many different people that the American people are excited about. Of course, we know President Trump, of course, and we love President Trump. But people are very excited about Governor DeSantis, maybe Tim Scott from South Carolina, Christine of South Dakota. So the Republican bench is pretty full. Our roster is looking good. But on the Democrat side, Hillary Clinton, she is so vitriolic and so poorly regarded. I can't see this working out well. And really lately, she's been trying to plant the seeds again. And all she does is come out and say these terrible things about Clarence Thomas and how he's always been a person of grievance. I don't think that quote is not going to age well either. Right. So honestly, Hillary Clinton is a terrible choice. Democrats, you need to start a recruiting agency and get some young people with big brains and great ideas. Actually, don't. Let's keep it the way that it is.
No, I know. Allison,
let's Clinton, and we'll keep doing what we're doing.
And I think you make a good point, Allison. Have you ever seen a bench this strong? The Republicans, for years and years, the knock was that the Republican bench is weak. This is the strongest bench of my lifetime, no question about it.
Well, and look, I think obviously Republicans would love if Hillary Clinton were to run, or AOC. But Chris, I do want to ask you, because if I were, in charge of the DNC and I was thinking, who should we have run?
A big part of their base, and if you look at the recent polling, you see how they're bleeding moderate and suburban women vote dramatically. You would think that would be the direction that they would go.
Erin Elmore, I asked President Trump about that yesterday, and we'll play that in just a little bit. He gave me an answer that I haven't heard before about the possibility of a Trump-DeSantis ticket in 2024. Before yesterday, I thought it wasn't at all a remote possibility. It could happen. It could happen. I'm not sure if it will. I'm not sure if either of them would do that, but stranger things have happened. Don't forget, look at 1960. JFK and LBJ, enemies, hate each other right through the convention. They ran together.
Aren't DeSantis and Trump, aren't they supposed to do some event together? I thought I read that yesterday.
Yes,
I could have been making that up. Erin?
They're doing the Turning Point USA Student Action Summit on June 22nd to 24th in Tampa together. I do believe that Benny Johnson, one of your Newsmax hosts, was posting about it. And by the way,
I saw it.
If you use code Erin, you get a discount. But I will be there. But yes, both DeSantis and Trump will be on the stage at Student Action Summit.
Maybe.
And by the way,
maybe. We've seen them pull out before of events they're supposed to be at together, right?
Well, let's just say this. I was at Mar-a-Lago about a year and a half ago, and both of those men were there together. I don't believe that they hate each other as much as the Democrats or at all would like us to think.
Right.
And by the way, we were talking about how the progressives kind of control really quickly the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
I do believe in New York that appeared to not be true in the primaries over the last couple of days. So it seems that most of the AOC backed and the very progressive Democrat candidates lost in New York. So hopefully that's a good sign that our country isn't headed to that socialist sort of trajectory.
Good point. Don't forget about George H.W. Bush, Ronald Reagan, 1980. They were going at it in the primaries, ran together. Happens all the time. Panel, a lot more to talk about this morning. We'll see you again top of the hour. Erin Elmore, Chris. Cassidy Hutchinson, 26 years old. She made some wild secondhand accusations about you.
Crazy.
What'd you make of that?
I thought it was absolutely crazy.
Of that former junior White House staffer, Cassidy Hutchinson, aide to Mark Meadows, who wanted to work with former President Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago in his post-presidency after he left office. She was turned down. President Trump told us about that yesterday. She claims that President Trump tried to grab the wheel of the presidential limo or SUV. She said the limo, meaning the Beast, which is a Cadillac sedan, but we now think it could be an SUV. Anyway, this is second and third hand that she's hearing all this. And that the Secret Service agent literally had to remove the president's hand from the wheel because he allegedly wanted to go back to the Capitol, which, by the way, even if he did want to go back to the Capitol, and I think he probably did want to go back to the Capitol, that doesn't prove anything.
No, not at all.
That doesn't prove anything. For more on this, let's welcome back in attorney and Republican strategist Erin Elmore and radio host for Project 21 National Advisory Board member Christopher Arps. Erin, you're an attorney. This is, these hearings, it's not a court of law, but cross-examination is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing that we've got in a democracy. Both of these Secret Service agents, Tony Ornato and Bobby Engel, well-respected, stellar records, both of them, they have both offered to come and testify to refute that testimony from Cassidy Hutchinson. Do you expect to hear from them at any point during these hearings?
Short answer, no. The way that this fake sham kangaroo court show trial is going is absolutely despicable to the American people that think this has any sort of real legal or ramifications of any sort. This is not a court of law. There is no judge. There is no jury other than partisan actors. There are no rules of evidence. There is no cross-examination. There are no impeachment witnesses, evidence, or impeachment testimony in a real legal sense. So the Democrats here, or the partisan actors here, if you include, Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, are really just trying to get to a goal. And what it seems that goal is right now is to prevent former President Trump from being able to run again. Be careful what you wish for, Democrats, because we know we have great candidates in the hopper as well. But what's really scary is that people that are watching this at home that don't understand the legal system don't understand that this trial has no real legal bearing or ramifications, and it's completely one-sided.
Right.
Yeah, Chris, it's almost like a made-for-TV event. And to Erin's point, if people are watching, CNN or other media outlets or just seeing things on social media, they're like, well, there's 2 Republicans on this committee, so it's fair. But look at the 2 Republicans who are on that. And then to Rob's point, if these 2 Secret Service agents actually are called to testify, there's been reports that they won't do it.
And I was wondering, Erin, why the media, not the left-leaning media, some conservative media outlets too, latched onto this story. And they said, well, listen, why would you go and place your hand on your heart and swear to tell the truth and risk perjury, which is a serious felony, a federal offense? Why would you do that? And I'm thinking to myself, because this is a Democratic panel and this is their star witness, they're not going to charge her with perjury no matter what she says.
Yeah, there were a lot of really big headlines about a certain television host who sort of leaned into this logic really, really deeply and has had a lot of backlash for that. At the time this young lady was working in Washington, I believe she was a 23-year-old intern. And I've been quizzing some of the people I know that were in the administration, and they said she was always really eager to climb up the ladder, very opportunistic, was trying to push people like Larry Kudlow, who's so brilliant and so beloved, around. And then she was seen down in Palm Beach, sort of hanging around the Mar-a-Lago set, trying to see what scraps she could pick up post 2020. So honestly, these are some pieces of evidence that would be admissible in a real court, and of course not in this court because it's completely biased and partisan. And for anyone on a conservative network to sort of not dig into who she is as a person and what her motives could be, and sort of that this isn't a real trial, it's a disservice to the American people, and it's a disservice to their viewer. And by the way, it's a service to us here at Newsmax, because it's going to get more eyeballs on these screens.
Totally.
Yeah.
And Allison, we've talked about it. It's called Washington Eyes. And this happens in the swamp all the time. But basically, you're talking to somebody. Picture you're at an event or something, and you're talking to somebody, and this person's right in front of you, but you're looking over.
Yeah, you're looking, who's better? Who's better?
Who can I move on to talk to? Thank you. Let's welcome Alex back in. She's White House boasts cookouts, this is last year, are 16 cents cheaper this year, and the internet is not impressed. Neither were we, Allison.
No, remember that? I don't think that we'll see a tweet from them this year about that. But honestly, $10, I feel like it's going to cost more, because when I go to the grocery store now, I'm paying way more than $10, for my grocery bill than I did even 6-7 months ago. And that's just for a small barbecue. I mean, a lot of people have people over. And let's not forget, people travel. This is one of the busiest travel weekends of the year. The cost of gas is completely insane. So people...
You live on a fixed income, saving 16 cents last year. I mean, that's absolutely nothing. Okay, the administration's in an alternate universe. But if you're on a fixed income, $10, that's a lot for anyone.
Well, it's really troubling, because everyone in America, we're feeling the pinch of inflation. We're seeing the prices at the gas pump. We go to the grocery store, the shelves are empty. It's impossible to find the items that we need. And then when we do find them, they're so much more expensive. Everyone, no matter where you fall on the socioeconomic status ladder, if you will, everyone is feeling this. Everyone is noticing this. And I think these are the kitchen table issues that are going to really drive people to the polls in November and vote a straight Republican ticket.
Chris, your thoughts?
The official inflation rate is supposed to be between 8 and 9%, but I think that comparison from last year's 4th of July prices to this year's of 17% is more likely what the true inflation is, where the only time that it's okay to be patriotic is during the Olympics. Of course, want to focus on that some of these presidents were slaveholders.
Attorney and Republican strategist Erin Elmore is with us as well. Erin, why do you think the administration wouldn't give the governor of South Dakota a permit to do something like this on Monday and have fireworks? By the way, it's great for the economy there as well.
Yeah. Certainly would be, but this is clearly another partisan political move now, isn't it? We know that Kristi Noem has been a really wonderful governor, very outspoken. She was one of the only governors in the country during COVID to completely keep her state open. And I'm sure that Joe Biden sees a lot of consternation with her and her decision making. And perhaps this is a little bit of an alarm to her. Hey, behave like we want you to behave, or your state will face consequences. We may remember in New Jersey, Bridgegate, which was all about politics, and that came back to really hurt a lot of people. So honestly, we should see that in America, we deserve a lot better. Whether you're right, left, or center, you should be able to celebrate the 4th of July in your state and not be penalized for being a conservative.
Yeah, Chris, I was just doing a little bit of research, and so the fireworks actually were canceled for more than a decade, but in 2020 they were brought back. And one of the reasons why they were canceled was, they said, was because of environmental problems.
With us when we come back, my exclusive interview yesterday afternoon with former President Donald Trump. Stay with us. America, I'm Rob Finnerty with Allison Maloney. Allison, good to see you. Thanks for bearing with me there as we aired that interview. I want to welcome in attorney and columnist for BizPac Review, Erin Elmore, and radio host and Project 21 National Advisory Board member Christopher Arps. It was the president was very generous with his time yesterday. He's always got a lot going on, but obviously, given this testimony from Cassidy Hutchinson on Tuesday, he had a lot to say. And I think what's most fascinating to me is Cassidy Hutchinson wanted to work for the president in his post-presidential years. So she wanted to be with him in Mar-a-Lago. She wanted to be with him when he spends the summers up in New Jersey. And the president, for whatever reason at the time, and we didn't get into it, but he turned down that application. And he basically hinted, Erin, that some of this testimony might be sour grapes. Do you think there's more to that?
Well, certainly, because this has already been disproven by Secret Service members. So there has to be more investigation here. But we already know that this committee is not operating under a real legal system. This is not a trial. There is no judge. There is no jury. There are only partisan actors. And anyone that's taking this statement at face value has to realize there was also no impeachment testimony, no other witnesses that were presented to either corroborate or deny this information. And several people I know in the administration said she was about 23 years old during her tenure. Very, very young, very inexperienced, really seeming to want to climb the social ladder politically. So honestly, I think perhaps she is a woman scorned who now sees an opportunity. What that opportunity is certainly seems partisan for the Democrats and beneficial to them, and honestly, very dishonest.
Yeah, Chris, this is the first time that former President Trump has done an interview since those allegations came out with Cassidy Hutchinson. And he talked about the fact that he's like, the fact that I jumped and I tried to strangle a Secret Service. He talked about how he knows them and he respects them. And you could just, you just listen to him. And you can tell he's like, this is crazy, these allegations, that I would do that.
Can I just
reaction to what he said about that?
I think it's good that the Republican Party works in conjunction with one another. And we have so many strong candidates that I think a big primary battle on our side is not the right strategic move. One would hope that they could sort of work these things out behind the scenes and figure it out, because our roster is immensely strong. Trump, DeSantis, Tim Scott in South Carolina, Kristi Noem in South Dakota. The list goes on. And the Democrats have who? Hillary Clinton. So if we can remain unified, we don't have an extreme wing like the AOC side on the Democrats and the squad. So we are really going into this strong. We have the kitchen table issues and just Biden's complete disaster on every single level.
Yeah.
So honestly, I think that if we can remain unified, and as the president sort of indicated, let's see what happens and all work together. His answer was perfect. I truly do hope that we continue to stay unified, because we really have the momentum behind us right now, and let's keep it going.
Yeah, I'm so curious about that Trump DeSantis ticket, but also think about it. If let's say Donald Trump decides to run again, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Carrie Lake, Kim Reynolds, maybe Rick Grinnell, a lot of names, a lot of people that are probably going to win in November that I think might be eligible come, 2024. A lot of options out there for all the Republican candidates, certainly the former president.
Options.
Yeah. All right, panel, thanks so much. Great stuff today. Really appreciate you joining me this morning 4 times. My goodness. Good to see you, Erin.
Thanks,
Chris Arps, thank you so much.
Great interview. Congrats.
Thanks, Erin. All right, coming up.